Hi, I'm Ted, and I'm going to cut a whole bunch of circles with the Bohle Repetitive Small Circle Cutter. I'm going to start with 7-centimeter strips that I'll use to cut 5-centimeter diameter circles. You'll notice that that is 2 centimeters wider than the circle. That means that at the absolute minimum, I'll always have 1 centimeter to either side of the score line that I'm making. This brass arm here has measurements along this side, and I use them to set the actual measurement that I'm going to make. So right now it is coming in at, there, that's 5 centimeters. I'll use this set screw to get that nice and tight. And you'll also notice that I put a series of strips underneath this long strip. Without that, what happens is the glass tilts up, and it's going to be hard to get even pressure on the glass as I'm scoring it. So I'm just using these strips here to hold it up. It could be something else. It could be paper. It could be a piece of cardstock, some sort of shim there. At any rate, I'm going to put some cutting oil on this entire strip of glass. And what's different in using this repetitive circle cutter from other circle cutters you might be familiar with is I'm actually going to score all the circles in this whole strip at once, as opposed to scoring, then breaking, scoring, then breaking. And the other thing that's really interesting about this is usually if we're cutting 3-millimeter glass, we are working with a 135-degree angle cutting wheel. Well, in this case, we're working with a 155-degree cutting wheel, and that's normally used for thicker glass. When we use it on 3-millimeter glass, it will actually make the score start to run as we make it. So you should actually see a highlight appear as I'm making the score, which tells you that the score is also being run. So the other thing about this is that the cutting head itself swivels, which means it will follow the trajectory of the circle that I'm scoring instead of being dragged across it to a certain extent, which is what happens with a fixed head. So I'm just going to line this up. Oh, one other detail. This fence is set with the measurements right here. So I said I was using 7-centimeter strips, and here you see that I've got a 70 measurement, which is 70 millimeters or 7 centimeters. And I'm doing that again to cut a 5-centimeter circle. So to get that swiveled head in the right orientation, I'm going to press down up here and just very lightly start moving. That aligns the cutting head, and then I'm going to make a score. Notice how I just went around once. I stopped as soon as I heard that I had hit that place where I started the score originally. So you can see a highlight appearing there. It's already run. I'm going to move this strip down and just make sure that I'm right at basically the same edge. Gently apply pressure to get the head aligned, and then make my next score, and then move and align, gentle pressure, and then did you hear that nice click? That's me getting to the place where I started the score originally. Align and we just keep doing that the whole way down. Align, light pressure, and then more pressure and around. And you should be able to see these highlights showing up everywhere that it's scored. That's showing you that that score is actually already open and run. And so it'll just be a matter of breaking out these circles after I get all the way down here to the end of my strip. Now, I'm going to try to get as many circles out of this strip as I can, but I think I've hit my limit right there. So if you look at this, you can see all of these circles showing up in the middle of this strip. And now what I'm going to do, which is different than the way people normally run circles, is instead of taking a circle or a glass cutter and scoring and then running the scores, I'm going to use this pair of Glass Pro nippers. They're glass nippers, and I'll just nibble there. Look at that. That just falls out almost like magic. Take that and nibble that. You'll notice that I'm also holding this down close to the table so that when the glass breaks, the whole thing doesn't fall down. And I'll go between those two. I'm just going to actually nibble down the line and then come back and break more things out. So there's a circle, there's a circle. Here's one that needs to be broken out a little bit more. Let's see, there's just one more in here that's got a little bit of glass attached to it still, and bang. So you can see how if you needed to make a lot of circles for something, you'd be able to do it pretty quickly. Like these little plates over here, they just have a little white opal circle that's got a decal applied to them. And I could be making circles for those all day. Whereas in other situations, you're cutting circles one at a time, you're having to score each one, and then open the score with the pliers, and then take a glass cutter and run it. This happens much more quickly. One of the great things about this tool is that I can cut really small circles. In fact, I can go as small as 1.3 centimeters and as large as 19.1 centimeters. Now, that's a little different than your typical studio circle cutter, where the smallest thing you can cut is basically 7.5 centimeters. If you look at the circles that I can cut on this, and these aren't even the smallest, they're actually smaller than the suction cup that holds this cutter down to the glass. And because the suction cup's in the way, there's a limit to how small you can go. With this tool, you are basically unencumbered, and you can go, as I said, all the way down to 1.3 centimeters.